What is up, everyone? Alrighty, so we are kind of getting to the midway to the near end of August, and here soon, September, I already know is going to fly by, and then we'll just have October, which is my favorite month. So we're going to do something interesting with this video today. I'm kind of going to run not an introspective, but a new series, Spooks versus Specters, and today's video is the inaugural of that series. So we're getting Killerwatt from the Real Ghostbusters, which is an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, there is episodes on YouTube that you can go watch the entire series. Trust me, it's like one of them really old, but really good Ghostbusters TV shows. I love it to pieces. Versus the 10,000 volt ghost from Scooby-Doo. Which electric monster reigns supreme? So to get into it, we're going to talk about a little bit of factors about each of them, why they should win. And then down below, I have written a story about what I believe a potential fight could be between if we turned both monsters real and had them fight up against each other to see who would win. So I hope you guys are ready for this. Let's get into it with the first factor. Well, actually, before we get into the factors, let's get into a little bit of the information over our competitors, Killerwatt. So first up, mainly because I love this fact, is that Killerwatt is voiced by the legendary James Avery. I loved Uncle Phil. I thought he was great. So when I found out that he voiced Killerwatt, I was actually really shocked because in the beginning, I thought that it was Frank Welker who voices, he's like one of the most legendary voice actors for cartoon animation. So I really thought it was Frank Welker. I didn't think it was James Avery until I looked it up and I found that out and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So yeah, we also get to see him a couple times, and I believe at one point in the Transformers and Ghostbusters crossover, we got to see them actually release Killerwatt to potentially fight up against the bad guy. I haven't read that comic. I'm not much into comics when it comes to like Transformers and all that other stuff. Mainly, I'm just into superheroes. But I found that out and thought that was really cool, and I thought I might as well share that with you guys. Now, for his opponent, the 10,000 volt ghost, we meet him in the Scooby-Doo show's 4th episode, that being What a Shocking Ghost. He was a cool visual of a villain for when we meet him in the Scooby-Doo show, but honestly, my favorite version of him is easily the 10,000 volt ghost in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, where he is massive and just very, very creepy looking. I love it to pieces. So now that we got that out of the way, let's begin with our factors. Starting up first up, fear. Now, fear is sort of a mixture of two. It's fear and design. Does its design induce fear? Now, we're gonna go with Killerwatt. And honestly, his spacious, gaseous ghost form is very creepy, but when he possesses something, it gets him even creepier because he then gives it life, it moves, it's a whole spectacle, and I love it. It does make it creepy in the animation. Now, when it comes to the 10,000 volt ghost in the animation, he isn't as creepy. He literally to me, looks just like a giant light bulb, so it is very basic, I'd have to say. Now, if it is your favorite monster, I'm sorry, but that is true. He looks quite basic. Now, however, when it comes to the live action that we got of the 10,000 volt ghost, oh my god, he beats Killerwatt hands down. I wholeheartedly do not believe that they can do a Killerwatt live action and make it look good. I don't think that's possible. The 10,000 volt ghost as live action was so creepy with a skull-like face. It just, to me, it was a perfect choice. It was a great choice. I love it. But for that, I'm giving it a tie. Because yes, Killerwatt comes out strong, 10,000 volt ghost comes out weak when it comes to animation. But I do believe the live action wholeheartedly makes up for it with his emphasis, with his effort. So that's why I believe that it should be a tie. Now, the secondary up, powers. Killerwatt is a class 7 elemental entity that controls an army that feeds on electricity. He also has the ability to make a giant armor suit for him, like we said with the fear tactic. He also has abilities that allow him to absorb the proton streams of the Ghostbusters. One of only a few ghosts that can actually do that. He can also shoot electric bolts from his eyes or anywhere else. Those are his most unique abilities. Other than that, he just has some normal ghost powers, light, possession, stuff like that. Now, talking about the 10,000 volt ghost powers, he also has electric-based powers, of course, but his are more interesting, different than Killerwatt's. Instead of being able to just to shoot electricity from his fingertips, he can also heat up his electricity to be able to melt steel with it. I want to add this. I do not know if you guys could classify this as being different or the same, but he can also change his form at will, so he could grow to be a huge threat. He has a more physical growth, while Killerwatt has the more gaseous growth. I think when he becomes something, he can't just, matter manipulate to make it bigger, like a power generator. I don't think he can do that. But for powers, I do want to say I think 10,000 Volt Ghost should win this one due to his ability to melt steel, which I say works better in 10K's favor than Killerwatt, since if Killerwatt tries to possess something, yes, at first he could overwhelm the 10,000 Volt Ghost, but as soon as the 10,000 Volt Ghost recognizes what hit him, he will become a walking arc furnace. He will melt anything because he'll be probably really, really mad. Now, the third factor, and that's difficulty to defeat. Which monster was more difficult in their episode to be defeated? First up, the 10,000 Volt Ghost. 10,000 Volt Ghost was actually really easily defeated by the gang once they understood more about the mystery that was going on. So they decided to use a magnet and a huge snowball to short circuit the monster and defeat him. The second time the gang fight against the 10,000 Volt Ghost is when Daphne and Fred in the live action version attach jumper cables and a metal rod to the 10,000 Volt Ghost and the Black Knight Ghost, which leads to both monsters exploding before they can figure out, or it looks hopeless. And honestly, that was a really cool scene, and I really liked it. Now, Killerwatt. Killerwatt was only defeated due to sheer luck, that being on the part of Slimer for the Ghostbusters. Killerwatt had possessed a very strong plant generator, which gave him a huge power bonus and even stopped the Ghostbusters proton streams. That's why I said he could literally eat the proton streams. It is only due to Slimer pulling the plug on the generator, which deactivated it, and it fell apart. Then Killerwatt was able to be trapped. Other than that, it really was hopeless for the guys. In the factor of difficulty to defeat this one, it is a landslide victory for Killerwatt. Honestly, it's only due to luck that he got defeated, so he wins it hands down. Now, that is it for the factors, but let's do a little thinking in a battle scenario and decide who would win in a combat fight between both electric ghosts. So, to start this imagery, we will of course be at a power plant. It is night. The place is closed for the night except for a little light blinking on and off. The 10,000 Volt Ghost comes out of the light and starts sapping on some of the electricity from one of the generators, but an electrical pulse comes out, sending the 10,000 Volt Ghost flying backwards into a wall. It stands back up and it sees a face and some green smoke pouring out from the generator it was just feasting on. Killerwatt exclaims, "Who dares steal my power from the ethereal master of many?" The 10,000 Volt Ghost looks up at Killerwatt in front of him. Killerwatt then asks, "Ah, a fellow electric feeder. You shall make a wonderful add to my army." But the 10,000 Volt Ghost doesn't care. He doesn't pay him any mind, in fact. The ghost goes back to feasting on the electrical current of the generator, currently pouring out of the smoke that Killerwatt is using. Killerwatt would be very irritated by this and disclaim, "Who are you to steal my power?" He grows using his electrical gaseous form to try to put fear into the 10,000 Volt Ghost. It does not work, however, so instead, Killerwatt decides he must punish this little whelp of a ghost to show him his place. Killerwatt then possesses another generator and makes it stand. Then it crashes what can be considered a hand down to pummel the little ghost. In the aftermath of him slamming down on the ghost, he breaks the generator 10,000 Volt Ghost was feasting on, which angers him to no end. So he grows and starts punching back and actually putting fist marks on the possessed generator, much to Killerwatt's shock. Killerwatt decides to summon a few of his minions while he jumps out of the damaged generator and to make a new plan. A couple of the minions try to pester the now enlarged 10,000 Volt Ghost, but they quickly get destroyed and sent flying away. Killerwatt then flies over in his gaseous form and finds a newer, more bulky looking generator. He quickly puts himself into it. Right as he does, the wall that he came from glows orange and a giant 10,000 Volt Ghost comes out of the wall looking severely angry, looking at the new Killerwatt body with eyes of hunger. Killerwatt, now in his bigger form, says, "All right, you little spark, I'm gonna show you who your real master is." Both entities blast electricity at each other, the blast of both energy beams smashing into each other equally, either of them pushing the other back too much. Instead, what happens is The beams go to critical, and then they make a huge kaboom, destroying much of the room. Killerwatt slamming back into the wall behind him, and 10,000 Volt Ghost going back into the wall behind him as well. They both then stand up and charge at each other. Killerwatt, trying to absorb 10,000 Volt Ghost power using his new generator, he starts to succeed in absorbing a little bit of the 10,000 Volt Ghost power. But he is not noticing that 10K is slowly damaging the sides of Killerwatt's new form. Killerwatt would scream, "You insolent whelp, I will crush you." He tries to overpower the now shrinking 10K, but he misses a swing that leads to him tumbling over. Now 10K grabs a hold of a couple of the cables that became frayed when Killerwatt and 10K use their energy beams. 10K snaps the wires in half and starts feasting on the energy pouring out from both ends, slurping the energy like spaghetti, which is leading Killerwatt to start losing lots of power. In a desperation, he tries to reason with 10K about maybe going halvesies ruling the world, to which 10K says nothing and continues his feast. And finally, Killerwatt realizes that he cannot bargain with this beast, as it was not an entity bent on power, but instead its insatiable hunger for electricity, which the last thing we hear of Killerwatt is him screaming no as he is absorbed by the 10,000 Volt Ghost. The sun starts coming up and the 10K Volt notices, so he jumps into a wall socket, and the final thing we hear is a large burp from the electrical socket, and that is the end. At least, that is what I believe what would happen if these two fought up against each other. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I know I will have a bunch of fun talking about more monsters from both series. But with that, I am introducing the franchise scoreboard. Scooby-Doo 1, Ghostbusters 0. If there's anything you guys think I got wrong or you guys liked, let me know, comment it down below. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We finally got over 300 subscribers, which is amazing, and I will catch you all later. Peace out.